Yeah, because people like us, we end up listening or watching the news and we just feel so thrilled when one of our pratimas or murtis come back, right? But we don't know about so many others which are just lying somewhere and nothing is happening. So
So that was the reasons why I wrote the book. So the book is basically how we caught Subhash Kapoor. I didn't want Kapoor also to be another Vamangia story. So to put things in perspective, bulk of the work was done by the idol wing in Tamil Nadu in 2009 by a very dedicated team of officers under a lady officer called Tilakavati and also a very competent officer called Selvaraj. And they arrested all his accomplices in Tamil Nadu and then launched the Interpol Red Corner notice. Kapoor was arrested in 2011 September. But most of the work stopped there. You know, when they arrested one of his key accomplices, his laptop surprisingly was wiped clean, and he was arrested in Cochin in a hotel at 5 a.m. early morning raid. But then when the evidence turned up, there was nothing on his computer. So no, there was. So we have now exposed there were a few black sheep within the idol wing as well, who are basically selling idols. But the work of a Homeland Security officer in the US, who I've not named as I've called him the Indie, because his favorite character is Indiana Jones. He did a lot of great work, and in fact, he is the brainchild of the arrest on Kapoor. So, to Kapoor was in business for 35 years in Manhattan. We call this the Operation Hidden Idol. So, Operation Hidden Idol was a series of raids that happened in 2012. It yielded 2,622 objects in just 14 storage locations in New York. Total value was $108 million. And this was Subhash Kapoor's holding stock. So, one medium sized dealer in New York, his holding stock was 2,622 objects valued at $108 million. Not only that, when he was under custody, he managed to smuggle handwritten notes to his sister, to hide the two dancers and consorts in his cabinet, which means two Natarajas and two Parvati Uma, who combined value at $13.5 million, which his sister is hidden in New York for the last 8 years. We don't know where they are from. So yes, this is a crime that is not. A lot of people think this is on something that happens only to some random temples in Tamil Nadu. It's not that. Of these 2,622 objects that are seized, just to give you a sampling, only about 68 pertain to Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, it's easier for us to crack it because it's a much more studied place, documented place. So for us to prove theft is slightly easier. Up north, there's a lot. People are scared to report thefts. People are scared not yet documented it. So documentation is a big problem for us. So heritage theft is something that people have to realize. One, they are picking the best of Indian art. So it's not just so after another decade, you will not be able to see anything of any great value in India. You have to go to the British Museum to see. Number two, these are basically using a lot of tainted organizations. So that is where, say, what's changed in the last 10 years. The US, the EU, for example, basically realized that the antique smuggling basically is morphing into transnational crime, money laundering. We're talking about terrorism financing. So all these have basically influenced them to take a tougher stance on this gray art market, which runs into millions of dollars. But sadly, in India, it's still some random event that does not. So just to give you an example, Subhash Kapoor's one Nataraja from the Shivkandan temple was sold for $5 million to the National Theatre of Australia. It was declared value of $380 in customs. It was sent to Hong Kong. There was a Hong Kong company that basically sent it to London for restoration. So then the final amount is transferred via Hawala. So when you look at Hawala, so there's this money laundering aspect that comes in. So this and he had suppliers all over India. So far, we've managed to crack only about seven of his supplier network. And so I feel the art market in India has still not woken up to the seriousness of the theft, how it destroys context. For example, we have a case where Skanda was offered, Pallava period Skanda was offered as a Pandya period Shiva. So once you take an object out of context, it loses all its historical significance. We're talking about Chandraketuga terracottas. A lot of people do not even know what the Shunga dynasty's contribution is. We're talking about second century BC, beautiful terracottas that are flat packed and couriered out. So imagine they're sent by courier pouches, and hardly 10% of them survived. This we know from the US court filings.
Yeah.
And just West Bengal, if they ask for what is being seized from Subhash Kapoor's stash, which is the Operation Hidden Idol, there are $2 million worth of Chandraketuga terracotta seized and waiting to come back from America. West Bengal has not yet asked even for one to come back. So the issue seems to be that we don't want to bring back antiquities because then uncomfortable questions are asked. We
Hmm.
have this case of a Brahma Brahmini that was stolen from the Rani Ki Vav site, and then we identified it along with Dr. Kirit Mankudi in Maharashtra, who had put out the lookout notice, and we found that it was on sale in London.
Hmm.
So we informed ASI, and ASI flew an expert to London, and you will not be surprised, you will be shocked. This expert basically gave a fake report saying this is not the same statue. So he said, so we have the original ASA photograph from the 1970s, and this guy basically says, "Oh, that statue is very dirty. The one I saw in the Indian High Commission that was brought to me is very clean. The face of the Brahma is very serene, but now he looks calmer. What serene? What is calm?" And the wildest thing was he says, in the original statue, the finger of Brahma is intact. In the statue I see in London, the finger is broken. But obviously, when they smuggled it, it would have been broken. The converse, if it were true, if the original statue was broken, if it was intact, now what you say is right. So we wrote a strong mail to the direct antiquities and said we will put this out in public domain. We get a mail after 3 days saying, yeah, we've appointed another higher level committee to look at the expert's opinion, and then they said your opinion is right. And finally, this idol. And what was interesting was they had given it back to the dealer based on this stupid expert's opinion. So after our protests, they basically got it back. And what was interesting was they used this intermediary, which is like a art provenance verification middleman, who basically arranged for transporting it from the dealer to the High Commission to hide the dealer's name.
Hmm.
And today, if you go to the Purnakila Museum in Delhi,
Hmm.
this Brahma Brahmini is displayed, and it doesn't have credits to Dr. Mankudi or myself. It credits this intermediary who bought it to the London office and took it back when, based on this fake, fraudulent report by that, and it credits them for arranging the smooth handover.
And you also mentioned that a lot of the kind of nexus that is involved here. So I'm just curious about the art market as it exists today. How does it function? What is the chain like? And what kind of money are we, what is the nature of money that we're talking about? And for someone like you or people like you who are working towards bringing, our heritage back home and to make sure that theft doesn't happen, what kind of dangers are involved?
See, first of all, the lot of our scholars are working with these auction houses and dealers. In fact, they made approaches to us. In fact, they made an open offer. They flew the lawyer to me and said, "Don't embarrass us in public," because when we have a match, what we do is we inform law enforcement, we inform India, respective law enforcement of the country, and then the seizures are done. So Asia Week New York raids happened in 2016, where Asia Week is like where all the dealers bring it's a big gala event in New York, and about $20 million worth of seized based on our IDs, some of them. So they made an approach to us to say that, look, we'll give you a blank check. Let us know, pre-vet our before. So if it's anything tainted, we don't put it up for sale. And we said we'll do it for free. Only thing you need to tell us who the supplier is, and that's the last we heard from them. So we sent them a nice thank you note saying not everything Indian is for sale. So the interesting part is, unfortunately, a lot of our scholars are, I would say, on the gray side. We have a couple of our Lotus scholars. When I say I don't want to call it by the right name and dishonor the award, so I prefer to call it the Lotus Award Dead Scholars, who have written catalogs for Subhash Kapoor, who are basically authenticated objects for the art market. So these are people whose life, unfortunately for me, for example, my day job is in shipping, so I do this as a hobby. But these are people who are formally trained in art, and they have been aiding and abetting the plunder. So I feel that they have to be exposed as well. Lastly, this is a well-oiled network. It's a big cabal. In fact, this cabal basically aids. So they regularly invite our these Lotus scholars to give lectures where they talk about how pathetic the condition back home in India. India does not have money to take care of it. The Western world basically has to help India by protecting and keeping these for safe keeping. And also they basically lobby the government to dilute the Antiquities Act, which is the latest attempt in the last couple of years. So the Antiquities Act of India was brought as part of the UN Statute in 1970. India brought in the Antiquities Act, which was basically tabled in 1972 and became an act of parliament in 1977. It's a very simple act. It basically said anything over 100 years, if you have it in you have to register it. And to register it, you'll have to take it to the ASI office and they will check how you got it. So basically, there's an inquiry that's conducted. You just don't go out and take out something that's on the road, public property, and say it's yours. So the officer basically conducts an inquiry to say that how did you? Is it in your family? It's your family property. Otherwise, you can't. So once you register it, it becomes unsellable in the market. That's it. Meaning outside India, it is unexported. It can be freely sold within India. So once you register an antiquity and they know that it is your private personal property, you can freely sell it within India. Now, this has been misinterpreted to basically come up with a new Antiquity Act wherein the ministries have been misled. They say that because there is not an open market in antiquities in India, they are being smuggled out of India. And they want to create an open market for antiquities in India, which means that they need to take away two things. One, they don't want a gatekeeper to do the registration. They want to have a website where you can just upload images and it becomes yours.
Hmm.
No gatekeeper check, which is going to be damaging to, because you know how it is. You drive 100 kilometers, you find 10 sites that are still not documented in India. You put something in the back of your car and bring it home and upload the picture, it becomes yours. Number two is something that is very strange. Today, if you want to sell an antiquity, you need to be an authorized dealer. And it comes with a certain restrictions, like you need to have monthly inventory, monthly stock, and you should allow ASI at any point of time to come and check your stock. You have to, whenever there is a sale, you have to register the sale. You'll have to keep sales records. And if you are convicted of any crime of any law in India, then your license is lost for 10 years. As simple as that. Now they say this is a draconian law, so they want to do away with this. So you want to today buy a bike, you need to be an authorized dealer, but to sell gods, you don't want. So a lot of such stuff is happening, and our own scholars are on a misinformation as usual, saying that look, this act is draconian. If you have anything of value in your house, the government will take and forcibly take it away.
Hmm.
That is approach, which says that anything of national importance the government can acquire, provided they pay you fair market value. If you are not happy with it, then it can go to arbitration at the level of a district judge. That's what the Act says. And since 1977 to now, India has not acquired forcibly even a single object. So all this is basically misinformation that is portrayed by the academic, I would say the soul scholars that are basically showing themselves as champions of the art market to basically insult India, to show India in poor light.
So, what more can India do then? What do you think should be done?
Sure. So the first thing that we need to understand is documenting antiquities. So a national archive is something that is actually prescribed in the UN statute itself.
Hmm.
The UN statute, one of its regulations, you need to have an enactment, you need to have a national archive, plus you also need to publicize lost databases. You need to have a theft database. India has nothing. So what happens is so a documented antiquity becomes unsellable, at least in the open market. That means you can't display it. I'll give you an example. There was a theft in the Nalanda Site Museum in 1961, and then another theft 3 months later in 1962. 19 bronzes were stolen from the Site Museum in 1961 and 1962. One of them was tracked to the LACMA, but there were no photographs. The Los Angeles Museum is still not returned. So about 3 years ago, Dr. Sanjeev Sanyal, the principal economic advisor, was a good friend. In fact, he launched a book in Delhi, was meeting with a retired ASA director, Dr. Vishwas, and he was talking about my work to him. And Dr. Vishwas apparently said, "Can we just solve this theft? Like a challenge in 1961." So Sanjeev put me on to Dr. Vishwas, and I was talking. I know this case, but unfortunately, we did not have any proper paperwork. And as luck would have it, Dr. Vishwas had a few of those original memos and notes and a few photographs of what was missing, not all the 19. And with that, we managed to match it to the LACMA, and the claim process is currently on. But as luck would have it, we have, like me, similar like-minded people who are battling similar, like Avengers, like Nick Fury. We have our own team of people. Documented antiquity cannot be sold openly, provided you police the art market, which is what Italy is doing. Sadly, from our side, the custodians, for example, ASA does not think it is his job to go after stolen stuff. The customs, for example, are only looking at their borders. They're not policing what is happening in art markets around the world. And especially for customs, for example, DRI, they look at contraband, they look at electronics, which are easier to value, then there are incentives involved, whereas art market is something stranger. So yes, this is akin to wildlife. What India and a lot of people don't realize is the killing happens because of the buying. So when the buying stops, the killing stops. So similarly, if we stop the buying, at least 50% of the consumption is with high profile museums. So which is what we are trying to do. Australia, thanks to work, has I think lost about $10.6 million so far, and they're going to lose another five soon, returning objects to India. In essence, that is what it is. It's the economics. When there is demand, there is supply. And unfortunately, people don't realize the supply was closed in 1970. The pipe has been closed at the origin at 1970, but still water is coming out the other side. And the art market conveniently ignores that fact. And it's the largest unpoliced, unstudied, undocumented market around the world, wherein you got links to Daesh. There are reports of
Oh, wow.
free ports. So basically, what happened was there was a British dealer who was arrested in 2012, Robin Shimes.
Hmm.
He had this unit in the Swiss free port in Geneva that he had not opened it for 30 years.
Hmm.
When they opened it, they found $20 million worth of Italian antiquities stashed there. So this was fencing. So like that, there are 55 such free ports around the world that have come up.
Hmm.
Today, after the Panama Papers, after the Paradise Papers, nobody wants to keep money in banks.
Hmm.
So you buy art, you keep it in these free ports. You want to transfer $5 million, you just move it from one room to another room. No paperwork, no leaks. You've done it. So yeah, so it's quite serious.
So, what is the process of bringing the heritage back home? How do you authenticate? How do you tell, a fake from real? To a layperson, how would you explain that?
That's the biggest problem because first of all, for a long time, our work was not taken seriously
Hmm.
by the custodians in India. So when we went and told them, look, there is this the same object, they wouldn't take us seriously. But lucky, the international organization started looking at us, our work, and that's when we realized the power of social media and also of the press. So I think we owe a great deal of gratitude, firstly to the French Institute in Pondicherry, because they documented very little but significant temples. About 10% of temples in South India, the French Institute in Pondicherry documented in between 1956 and 1970. So we use their archives very effectively. You will see we've now managed to crack a lot more because the goodwill has started coming up. So we had our first success in early 2014 when the Australian Prime Minister brought in the Nataraja and the Ardhanarishwar and gave it to Prime Minister Modi. So from that time, I think it's almost everywhere our Prime Minister goes, he's been given back stolen moortis, and I would say about 58 of them have come back between 2014 and now. I would say about 95% is our work. Many of them have gone back to the temples, which is even more satisfying for us. In 2013, that's when we started exposing, especially after Kapoor was arrested. We knew there were a few black sheep within the force as well. So that's when I roped in a few people because it was being taunted in the previous establishment. You know what we are talking about. They didn't quite care, and it was like one guy sitting in Singapore talking about all this. That's when in 2014 we decided to call it the India Pride Project, literally meaning restoring India's pride one murti at a time. And we kind of split our tasks into activism on social media to build awareness. But then we also have a team that works with the government, uh, trying to build awareness, doing sessions for customs. We work with the RI, we work with Interpol, we work with Europol, we work with Eurocustoms, trying to build capacity and capability. I believe we can sit and cry, we can sit and blame, but then each one of the 50 odd that have come back and another 268 to come in once COVID stops, because there's a big queue of objects that are lining up to come back, plus a lot of high profile cases that we have currently worked in the last, say, 2 years. Thanks to COVID, gives us more time. I believe we will empty quite a number of major museums around the world. We need to build awareness. I think, for example, India should come up with awareness videos of how objects have been mutilated, necks cut, hands cut, to show it to the Western audience to say that is this what you're spending your money on? No, the villagers crying that their gods have been stolen. So I think that's something that we should really promote. Like for example, if you go to Thailand, they say Buddha is not for decoration. So you go step out of the airport, you see, don't buy hands, just Buddha hands, Buddha heads. They put notices, big billboards saying India should actually ban the export of broken murtis. No? If you want to buy something new, buy new, well made, no, not broken. But the need of the hour is basically to come up with a long-term effort because this, the art market has very deep pockets, and considering the extent and size of the loot, our effort should outlive us. So we believe strongly that at some point, the government should take this on seriously, and especially since we've proven now that we are no flash in the pan, and it's no longer something that is random. I believe that uh, we can seriously bring our gods home, and the gods have decided they want to come home. They've chosen the vehicles, and we are just the vehicles bringing them home.
You say that wherever, whenever you see heritage, just document. That's the sort of suggestion, advice you give to common people like me and the audience that is watching. What else
See, first of all,
do you say?
the request is first go to your explore India. There's so much in beauty in India that is to be seen. There's so much that India offers. So first, do that. Number two, I think all of us have to re-establish worship traditions. So whatever be your faith, make sure that you go and reconnect with your roots. Talk to your grandparents. Talk to your parents. Go back at least twice a year. Visit your family deities, your Kula Devatas. Make sure when you go there, you document it. At least when you're there, you see what is there, what was not there missing. If you hear that something is missing, in fact, we are now working on a case of a Nataraja that a village priest told us that it was stolen in 1971. We managed to find the photograph and we've identified it to a US museum, and that's being returned. So, if at all you hear something is gone, something is missing, if there is an FIR, well and good. If there's an old photograph, reach out to us. One thing we ensure, we never reveal our sources if you don't want us to. A lot of people in India are scared because, for one, the legal process could be problematic for them. The second thing is they could be afraid of the mafia. So the information will be held in confidence. We will ensure, but this is a long drawn process. It's not something that will happen immediate. Restitutions have to be fought. Even though what is played out in media, it's voluntarily handed over to India. None of these restitutions were voluntary. There's a big battle that that went behind each one of these restitutions. It will take time, but it is important, and I believe it is our duty to report thefts. Documenting, I would say that almost 5% of our cases only we are successful. The rest 95% we are not successful because we don't have proof of theft. People who want to volunteer with us, please feel free to look us up on our Twitter handle.
Yeah.
Reach out to us. But my request is, most of people who listen to my talks immediately want to reach out. I request them to take a break, chill out for 7 days. If you still remember me after 7 days, then reach out and let you know how you can work with us. So it will take a lot of time because we, of course, have to be careful. We'll do a little bit of background checks, and it's a thankless task. I'm happy. I am the face of the team. There's a lot of people who have been helping us scholars, good scholars, friends who choose to remain anonymous for various reasons. So I would again place my thanks to the wisdom of our ancestors who created these magnificent creations that have stood the test of time for 1,000 years. I hope in the coming years we will get back more stolen art back to India and help India strengthen its borders, stop this targeted looting of our cultural treasures, and hopefully bring out a change in the world.
Vijayji, thank you for the incredible work that you are doing, and may our gods continue to decide to come back home. Thank you for joining us on New India Junction.